Yo, what's up, gamers? It's your boy. Back at it again with another video. Today we're going to be doing an EX4 tier list. Now, I did an EX4 predictions tier list about a month ago when I started getting bored of set 12, and I really want to take into perspective what we know now about EX4 and sort of look back and say, hey, maybe we were wrong. But I really just want to revisit the tier list because I think that tier list was a little uninformed and just overall a rough predictions tier list. That being said, let's hop straight into the tier list. Okay, so here we are with the tier list. I'm going to break down the tiers really quick for you. So we have tier 1. This is going to be the best decks in the format. Tier 1.5, these are going to be the decks that are teetering on the between Rogue and the best decks. These are decks that you will see, you know, occasionally sprinkle throughout Top Cut. And then we have Rogue. These are going to be the tier 2 decks, sort of the middle of the pack, the ones that, you know, players are just always going to play because they have a special place in their heart, or they're just, you know, so close to being good. Then we have Need Some Love. These are going to be the decks that are close to having something that's like tier 1.5 or tier 1, but because they are missing like a couple, like a card or two that would just make them super strong, they're going to go and Need Some Love. And then we have What Are You Doing? What Are You Doing is going to be for the decks that, what are you doing playing these? Why do you even own these decks still? That being said, let's go straight into it. So for the first thing we are going to rank, I want to rank this these two right here, because this is actually the same deck. This is Alliance, so I'm going to rank these together. I'm going to put these in Rogue. I don't think that they are tier 1.5. I think the playstyle of Alliance has a lot of uniqueness to it and something that, you know, is something that to really consider. And you have to be wary of it because I think the Alliance mechanic is so unique and so strong that it can definitely steal games. Next, I want to do this Jet Sylphimon here because I don't believe in Yellow Hybrid. I don't think this deck exists. However, what I do believe in is Venusmon Control utilizing the 4-grade dragons. I think this deck is insane, right? We didn't get a few cards, but we did get Ruin Mode, and I think Ruin Mode is really strong in this deck. And of course, right now we have very powerful Wind Digivolving and Wind attacking effects, and due to that Venusmon effect, we actually get to lock our opponent out of using those. So I'm going to put this in tier 1. This might be the hot take of the video. I think this is a very strong deck and definitely a meta contender in a stun strategy. I think it is not final yet. I think there's a few things that maybe people are missing and we could break still in this deck. Next we have Setcon. I don't think Setcon's that good anymore, to be completely honest with you. I don't want to discount it because it still has gotten a couple tops. And I think it's a deck that just always will get some tops just because of the way it plays. So I'm going to put it in Rogue for now. Next we have Bloom Lordmon. Bloom Lordmon, of course, you know, anytime plant or vegetation gets support, this deck is good. Quartzmon is also a really busted card. I'm going to put it in tier 1. Dark Knightmon. So Beelzemon, no surprise, is still going to be a tier 1 deck. Nothing too major has changed with it. Of course, the ban list is something. Dark Knightmon, though, has a really nice matchup into Bloomlord. But unfortunately, this deck still needs some love. It did just get some support, which is okay, but the support is much stronger in Blue Flare than it is Dark Knightmon. Ulforce Vidramon, this deck can randomly just OTK you out of nowhere. It's pretty good. We're going to put it in Rogue, though, because, you know, actually, I'm going to put it in tier 1.5. I think this deck is consistent enough to the point where it can OTK you that quick. Yeah. Mirage Galgamon. So this just got some new support. I would have put in What Are You Doing? However, this new support actually bumps it up past Needs Some Love to probably Rogue. And we're getting new support with this as well in BT13, so definitely be on the lookout for Mirage Galgamon. Next, we have Machine Dramon. Machine Dramon was up here. It was right in its tail, Coat Wind. It was killing it. Machine Dramon was a very strong deck. Was is past tense. I do not think this deck is very strong anymore. I would love to be proven wrong. I'm going to put it in Rogue because what it does is still quite unique and quite good. However, it is okay at best. I don't know what really changed with the deck, right? Like we got some more stuff in meta with like Shine Greymon and whatnot, but I don't think it's too, I think it's a little too slow now. In Ultimate Cup, I think it's still a very strong deck, but for EX4 in general, I think it's not as good anymore. Next we have Red Hybrid. I actually think Red Hybrid is a tier 1 deck. I think this deck is very strong, and this is one of the few things in my early prediction video that I think I got right. I said this deck is going to be the Metal Garurumon of BT12. If you guys are unfamiliar or started after BT9, Alphamon in OCG was the best deck, hands down, bar none. In the TCG, Alphamon was very strong. The first month or so of BT9, it was just Alphamon. You could not play anything else. However, people realized very quickly that Metal Garurumon is a very real deck and a very strong deck. And Metal Garurumon is arguably now, if we look back at past formats with 2020 Vision, it's arguably the better deck than Alphamon. Again, arguably, I think it could go either way, but I think most people do realize that Metal Garurumon is just a little stronger than Alphamon. And I think that's how I feel about Emperor Greymon. I think the red hybrid deck was severely overlooked when coming into this format. Next, we do have Shine Greymon. Shine Greymon was down here, all right? But the new support, I want to put it in tier 1, but we haven't even seen the last of Shine. In BT13, we are going to be so sick of Shine Greymon and how ridiculous this deck is. So for now, I'm going to put it in tier 1.5. I still think it's very strong, but I don't think it's quite tier 1 yet. But it is very, very close. Next, we have War Greymon. So War Greymon, funny enough, I think was like down here at the start of the format. But as the format's evolved and the ban list has come out, I think that makes War Greymon better. All the other decks have sort of come down a little. Of course, Greymon X Antibody, the BT12 one, or BT11 one, excuse me, would have been really nice to have 4 copies of. But this is also one of the only decks that can actually deal with the Venusmon Loop. And I think the Venusmon Loop is super, super strong. And I said I think this deck is going to be a tier 1 deck. And I think War Greymon is one of the only decks that can actually beat that deck. Next, we have Hunter. Hunter was up here, and I think it still probably is a tier 1 deck. I think Hunter is a very strong deck that can just utilize so many different playstyles and go aggressive and go control. It's also one of the best matchups into the rest of the tier 1 decks. I actually would like to revisit Bloom Lordmon again, because the more I see it up here, the more I don't think it quite deserves to be a tier 1 deck. I'm going to move it down to 1.5. I think, the ban list sort of did affect this deck quite a bit. It doesn't change it too much, but compared to these other decks, I don't think it's quite as strong. I will put it here, though, because I think it is very, very good still. Next, we have Beelzemon. This is the undisputed best deck still. I think everyone really knows that. No. Sort of just do it like this. Crossheart's interesting. I think this deck's always going to be decent just the way the deck plays. So I'm going to put it in 1.5. Green Hybrid, what are you doing? This is not a deck. What are you doing? Come on. It doesn't even need some love. What are you doing? Metal Garurumon X. The people still playing this are highly coping. This deck definitely needs some love now. The hit was just a lot of damage to it. Armor is good. I think armor is okay. I think Huang actually posted a list a day or two ago now that has it might have been today actually. At the time of recording this, it might have been today or the day before. Can't remember, but Huang posted a list that's like a Magna control list with Shine Ruin mode, and I think it's very, very good. So I'm going to put it. I don't think it's up here. I'm gonna put it in Rogue. I think it's definitely a Rogue pick, but quite strong. What are you doing playing Grandis? If Max Tapera gave up playing Grandis, you should give up playing Grandis. This deck is never getting off the ground again, and it will never see the light of day. Thank God. Dorbikmon, this deck is so funny. I think this deck is always going to be Rogue. As long as there are dragons in the game, this deck will be Rogue. It kills you on turn 1 if it gets all its pieces, and if it gets all its pieces, you just lose. It's so funny. Examon is like one of the best control decks in the game, and I think its natural inherent playstyle will be just such a strong control deck. But it pains me to say I think it's Rogue. I don't think it's any higher than Rogue right now, just because the offense we have in the game is just so much that even Examon can't really handle it. Right? Instead 11, Examon was eating good. It had such a nice matchup in the Grandis, Old Force, and War Greymon, but now it's not as much. Okay, so here we have Gallantmon. I actually think Medieval Gallantmon goes so nutty, and I think it's so cool. But it suffers the Gallantmon syndrome, and it's crazy to me that Gallantmon is still suffering the same fate. Gallantmon has not known what it wanted to do since set 1. It does not know what it wants to do. I'm going to put it in Needs Some Love. I think Gallantmon really needs some help to find a playstyle that it actually wants to play. The best it has ever eaten and probably ever will eat is in those Ultimate Cups where Bloomlord was the best deck, because it just so happened that it had a very nice matchup into Bloomlord, but was still very whack into almost everything else. And Medieval Gallantmon, again, does almost nothing for the strategy. Blue Flare, tier 1. This deck is so good. I think Blue Flare is such a strong playstyle and such a good deck. It's actually, I would argue it is the strongest control deck, because in reality it is a control deck, but it can also OTK you. This deck is so good, and I cannot understate how good Blue Flare is. You guys really need to be preparing for this deck if you are playing in any major events soon. Next we have Sakuyamon. Of course, you are playing this new Sakuyamon in Blue Flare most likely. However, I do think the new Sakuyamon is not that great. I don't think it's a need some loves or what are you doing. I'm going to put it in Rogue. I think the plugin options are strong, and the new one, the white one, is very good as well. So Gaiomon, this card is cooking. I don't know what people are saying. I don't know what people are saying, actually. I don't know if people are talking about this card or not. This card's nuts. It is very, very strong. I'm going to put it in 1.5. I think Gaiomon is very busted. I think this new card goes so nutty for like a pure Gaiomon build. Like, you're sleeping if you're not playing this. Also, it's like a $10 alt art. This is me telling you, go buy that. That card is nuts. Does not deserve to be a $10 alt art. It would be a $10 if it was a super rare. Like, the alt art being 10 is crazy. Omnimon, I love this deck. This deck is so cool. I think it's better than all these rogue decks, but I don't think it's as good as any of these 1.5 decks. So I kind of wish I had another tier just called like Omnimon, because I could either bricks really hard or just wins the game. I guess that's sort of the same as like Examon, right? I'm gonna put it in Rogue. I'm gonna put it at the top of Rogue because I think it's right in between the two. I think it and Examon are sort of like holding the floodgates that is Rogue, and I still think these Rogue decks can top guys. I think any of these Rogue decks can get a top 16 very easily. Ravemon is so tragic. I think this deck is so cool, and I will definitely be maining this deck in set 13 probably. Well, actually, some new Venusmon support comes on set 13 as well. So I'll be maining this and probably like Venusmon. This deck is so cool, but what are you doing playing it right now? It doesn't have enough support. It has one line it wants to see, and if you don't see any of those pieces, you're not playing the game. Jesmon. Jesmon's a weird deck. This deck can just sack you and high roll and win the game almost always, or it does nothing. I feel like it needs some love, but my gut tells me it needs some love. But at the same time, this deck will almost always get results because someone will just high roll with it. So for that reason, I'm gonna. Do I want to put it in Rogue, or it's gonna need some love? I think it needs a little bit of love, and it might get that love in set 13 with the new support card. We'll see. D Reaper. D Reaper is a very strong control deck, but right now, what are you doing playing D Reaper? I'm sorry, Luca. I love you, bro. But this deck is not it right now. It's not even needs some love. I don't know what they could give this card to make it better. It is very good, but this is not its format. That being said, guys, that is it for the tier list. If you enjoyed, please let me know. If you think I did anything wrong or missed anything, also please let me know. Also, shout out to Hayden the Eggman. Love you, bro. I will put this tier maker in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been a pleasure. If you did enjoy this video, I'd really appreciate it if you left a like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know which deck you were looking forward to most in EX4, and if it was on this tier list, or if I missed anything on this tier list. That being said, don't forget to go down to my description down below and follow me on kick.com/truepaingaming or twitch.tv/truepaingaming, where we stream almost all of our videos live, and we stream quite a bit throughout the week. That being said, I will see you all next time. Bye.